Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission's 2014 Public Participation Plan webinar. My name is Catherine Yoder with South Shore Clean Cities. South Shore Clean Cities is a nonprofit organization that promotes the use of alternative fuels and clean vehicle technologies. We also manage the Northwestern Indiana Green Fleet Program for NIRPC, who is our local metropolitan planning organization. The goal of the program is to significantly improve the environmental performance of business and governmental fleets across the region through diesel retrofits and other strategies. We work with these fleets to help mitigate barriers to adopting alternative fuels and advanced vehicle technologies. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website later today at www.southshorecleancities.org. Now, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Stephen Sostaric, who is the Public Involvement and Communications Coordinator with NIRPC. Stephen, whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. As Catherine said, I am the Public Involvement and Communications Coordinator here at the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. And let's get started, and we'll start out with an explanation of what NIRPC is. So as I said, we are the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. We were created in 1965 through some state enabling legislation that has since been updated. We are now a council of governments, meaning our board is made up entirely, our main board is made up entirely of elected officials representing each of the three counties that we cover, which are the three counties that touch the southern tip of Lake Michigan here in Northwest Indiana. Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties, as well as our 41 municipalities and I believe 2 townships. So that gives us a total of 53 members on our board. We're also a metropolitan planning organization, which means that we cover the transportation planning for the Northwestern Indiana region. As well as transportation, our focus areas are also the environment and economic development. And as part of that environmental work, we work, as Catherine mentioned, closely with South Shore Clean Cities. So as far as transportation planning and programming, which is really the part that the feds are really concerned with as far as our tasks, we have 3 major plans. We have our regional transportation plan, which is our 2040, which actually is constituted within our 2040 comprehensive regional plan. We have our Transportation Improvement Program and our Unified Planning Work Program, which is basically our plan for planning. And I should mention, our Transportation Improvement Program is basically our short-term work plan. So basically that's it's a 4-year plan, and that looks at the work that, it charts out our funding for the next 4 years and what projects will be funded and what that work will constitute. So that's sort of our short-term plan. Our regional transportation plan is our long-term plan. Our unified planning work program is for 2 years and kind of shows what we're going to do in that time. So they're all different lengths of time. So our 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan, or CRP, is our main overarching vision that we have for the region. We planned to 2040. We have to do a 30-year planning horizon, so this iteration takes us to 2040. We decided to, for the first time since about the 1970s, to make a truly comprehensive look beyond just transportation and look at things like social equity and economic development, environment, and land use, and how all of that works together, because it's all interrelated, and one thing affects the other and really dictates the direction of our region, and how each one has to work in order to make everything continue functioning. And a big part of that, and this relates into what we're talking about today, was engaging the region. There was the whole kickoff for the comprehensive plan, which was actually just before I started here, was on a cold December day. It was very snowy, but we still had over 500 people come out to really help kick off the process and figure out how we wanted to, what we needed to focus on, how people wanted to see the future of the region shaped. And by the end of the process, I believe we figured we had somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 people from throughout the region who were involved in creating this plan for looking towards 2040 in Northwest Indiana at that point. So within the comprehensive regional plan, I'm just putting this in here just to give a little bit of background as to, you know, this is really what's guiding our work right now. So as you see there, the CRP stresses a number of factors that points to our changing demographics as well as future opportunities. Contains recommendations for in the topic areas, and this is basically the outline of our chapters. It's growth, conservation, transportation, environment and green infrastructure, human and economic resources, and stewardship and governance. And this document, it's a big document. If you get the full thing with all the appendices and everything, it's probably about 2 inches thick. But it's also available on our website at www.nirpc.org, and that will be up at the end, so don't worry. But that is, we actually just updated it. We adopted the update, I believe, in May of this year, because you have to update every 4 years. So we actually just updated this with new information, bringing in some implementation activities that we've already done. But those are the main areas that we were looking towards when constructing the plan. And that's sort of the framework that the plan is based around. So you hear about, you know, the TIP, the CRP, things like that. These are shaped by public participation. And guiding our public participation, we have a public participation plan. Prior to 2014, our public participation plan had last been updated in 2007. So this new plan looked to kind of improve upon that. It includes things like updated outreach techniques, and as well as essential accessibility features. The public participation plan also guides how we share information about our projects and plans into the future. So there's a bit of a process. Took a couple years to finally get to adoption in December of last year, so it's been about a year under this plan now. The process began in January of 2012, and there was as you see there, there's a presentation to what we call our 3PC, which is our PED, Pedal, Paddle Committee. They're the ones who cover our non-motorized transportation, so PED, pedestrian, pedal, bicycling, and the water users. So then, and as you can see, in February 2012, then we went to our Environmental Management Policy Committee. So we're working our way in that early part through our policy committees, and then went to the Transportation Policy Committee and the Land Use Committee in March, and then finalized the membership in April of a public participation task force. This included 19 members from all 3 of our counties, and this was the group that was really set to guide the process. So there were 3 meetings over the next couple months of this task force to help chart the work, and then finally in August there was a final meeting with revisions to the public participation plan beginning there. The revisions were finalized by October, and the plan was recommended to the Transportation Policy Committee, because they're basically how our current committee structure is set up. The TPC is sort of the last stop before the Commission votes for adoption. So that was recommended to the TPC, and a public comment period was begun. It was then extended into February. As you see, more presentations were made there. Were made during that time, and there was revisions to the plan, which sort of resets that process. There was also a webinar for that, as well as public meetings in Lake Porter and LaPorte counties as part of this comment period, which then finally closed April 2nd. And it was recommended for action by the Transportation Policy Committee. And then eventually there would be some more events and things like that, some more comments, more revisions, and finally we worked our way into a final public comment period in 2014, in about believe it was September, October of 2014 was our final public comment period. There were meetings as part of that as well. So as you see there in our public participation process is required by federal regulation, and we just sort of carried that over into our policy that it would be a 45-day public comment period for a public participation plan or any amendments to an existing public participation plan. So we followed that, and as you can see, we kind of went beyond that by extending and having multiple comment periods, etc. I can't remember the exact number, but I believe it was well over 100 days of public comment by the time we were done. And then also just taking a look there, you can see the long-range transportation plan, which would be our CRP. The TIP is included in there, our UPWP, air quality conformity. All those have, while they may not necessarily have federal regulations requiring public comment like the public participation plan does, we have set forth in our policy, and this chart is actually in the 2014 public participation plan. We have set forth what our minimum comment periods are, public comment periods are. So provide that opportunity, and you see there it ranges anywhere from 7 to 45 days, usually about 30-day public comment periods, depending on what the item is. And so this kind of helps us guide what those requirements are. When we get comments in, we then prepare a written public comment summary report, and the public participation plan actually helps kind of set up what that format is. And so what it is, so we have the comment, we have to show how it was considered by staff. So what was done with that comment and any response that there is to that comment and whether or not it's significant. And the significance of the comment, as you can see there, determines what our next step is. If a comment is determined to be significant, so it requires some sort of change in the document text, like something, you know, beyond not necessarily like a typo or something like that, but something that really makes a change to the document as far as like what the document is saying, then that puts us into another public comment period, because now you have changed the substance of the document. That's something significant. You can see there non-significant comments. It's either it's no change or it's something small. And so basically we just sort of explain everything that happened, and that report is made available on our website as well as to our committees in advance of any decision-making meetings, so that way they have time to look at it and digest it and know what it is that was said before they have to take any action on that item. Another big element of the plan is increased access to NIRPC meetings. We do acknowledge that where our office is central in terms of our 3 counties. We're in the middle of the 3. However, where our office is, there is a lack of public transportation across county lines as well as across most municipal boundaries in our region. It's a challenge that we readily acknowledge. We wish wasn't there, but we're always trying to see if we can improve upon you know, breaking down those boundaries. But we do realize that there is limited access to our office because of that. We are currently looking into the possibility of webcasting meetings. Our office just underwent a big renovation and some technological hurdles and things like that. So hopefully we will be getting that soon. But that is a goal, is to be able to webcast meetings as well as have them, obviously the public's invited to attend. They are public meetings. Currently our commission meetings are actually recorded, and those videos are put up on our YouTube page. So you can actually go ahead and watch them, though it's after the fact, but the video recording of our commission meetings are actually made available. Another way to provide greater access to NIRPC meetings is variable meeting locations. So rotating meetings of the public, or of of the Transportation Policy Committee when significant planning decisions are on the agenda. So, you know, something that may be a major transit action item, for example, that's impacting Hammond or Gary, you know, meeting somewhere that's accessible to those areas, and you know, to the people who live in those areas, and so that way the meeting is more accessible if they want to, you know, attend the meeting, see the goings on, or you know, provide comment at the meeting and let their views be heard. The Transportation Improvement Programs, once again, this is our short-term funding program. So we're looking for a more, the plan sets out a more open process for the public to comment on projects for the TIP. Minor amendments have a minimum 7-day comment period, while a major amendment will have a 30-day comment period. A minor amendment is something where you know, if it's a mile-long project, you're not changing like the endpoints of a project. It's just something like a smaller change within that project. A major amendment into the TIP would be something if you are from this area, you heard about it a couple years ago. We had the states of Indiana, Illinois wanted to put in an expressway between I-65 and I believe it was I-55. So we had to amend that into our documents, into our TIP, into our comprehensive review plan, and so that was a major amendment because we were adding a whole new project. And it was a major project, obviously, and so we had to have a 30-day public comment period because we were changing these documents and amending this major project in. And then there's also administrative modifications and emergency administrative amendments. These are explained in the document, and basically these are something that allows us to make a little quicker changes to the TIP. It's nothing big. It's just, you know, little tweaks as sometimes comes up as projects progress. Our public participation matrix. So this is also contained within the plan. Basically, what it sets out is what the goals are and what level of participation they fall along, and kind of the techniques that could be used at these different levels, the techniques that can be used, when they will be used, and what our promise is to the public, kind of what each goal says, you know, what each level of participation says, what our promise to the public is. So, for example, you know, our promise to the public under inform is we will keep you informed, all the way up to collaborate. We will look to you for advice and innovation in formulating solutions to our planning issues, and incorporate your advice and recommendations into our decisions as much as possible. And so this kind of gives an idea how everything up to this point where it is in the document kind of helps give an idea how everything fits together. I know I mentioned outreach methodologies. Obviously, there's lots of different ways to get in touch with the public and have the public get in touch with us and keep people informed of what's going on here. So as you see, that ranges from website to newsletter, press releases, legal notices, providing alternative formats, webinars, like today, open houses, public meetings, public hearings. One thing I do want to point out, you see email and direct mailings there. As far as email, one thing that has been implemented is we have gotten onto Constant Contact. So we actually use that as our main system now in order to send out emails and kind of alert, you know, we have to send like a big blast as far as like meeting announcement, or, you know, putting out. So for example, like how I said, you know, we send out our public comment reports. That is what I use to send out our public comment reports, because we have our different lists, and so we can make sure that we're hitting the correct groups of people. And so that's something that we have implemented, and it's been working pretty well for us as, you know, we've gotten settled into that system. And also you see their social media. We are on Facebook and Twitter, and those addresses will be up at the end. Evaluation of the public participation process is another part of this. As you see there, staff will generate the following items after an event. So we do a meeting report and the summary of the information of a public outreach form. And so basically, so we look back and we evaluate the public outreach, and then also generate a meeting report, which is then put on our website and distributed to the participants at that meeting. That whole process is outlined in the plan. Also, there's the essential, as I mentioned before, the essential accessibility features, which is Appendix F. And so just a quick look through the appendices, because it's a lot more of the kind of meat and potatoes of some things. We have, so Appendix A, the glossary. Appendix B is the our public participation in the 2040 CRP, as well as the vision and value statement for our 2040 CRP, since, as I said, that's our plan that sort of guides everything that we do here. Appendix C shows our commitment to environmental justice. Appendix D is interested parties, participation, and consultation. So basically, this is just an excerpt from that 23 CFR federal regulation that shows the requirement that requires this public participation plan to be done. Resources are also some different resources that we consulted and that can also be consulted are also shown in Appendix E. Appendix F, so the essential accessibility features. This is a big addition to our public participation plan in 2014. There are, I believe it's nine accessibility features, essential accessibility features. So basically, these you see here, and on the next slide, these are elements that if the meeting venue does not have that, we cannot have meetings there. For example, I believe it was earlier this year or sometime last year, I did have to go, I went to a venue we had not used before, and everything was good until I believe it was number 8. Number 8, the bathrooms, I believe it was 8 and 9 actually, the bathrooms did not meet these requirements, unfortunately, and so we couldn't meet there. And so it was kind of frustrating because it really, it was great because everything else is very nice and open, everything was, met measurements and things like that, but unfortunately, the bathrooms did not meet the requirements, so we could not meet there. And so these are, but this is definitely a great thing, kind of and this kind of came out of that public comment process. This just shows, sort of our commitment to making sure that that when we have meetings, the places are accessible and usable by everyone, because we do want as many people from as many backgrounds and ability levels, everything as possible to come to our meetings, so that way we're hearing from, because we want to truly hear from the region, and so we want to do our best, put forth our best effort to make it possible for anyone to come and comment. And this also, and actually it's not part of this, but if it's, for example, if we're gathering comment on something, especially when it has to do with transit, we try to make sure that the meetings are along a transit route, that the meetings are held during a time that they will be transit accessible, because some of our transit operators may only serve an area till about 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So if we're having a 6 o'clock meeting, it doesn't do users of that service any good. We also try to put signage on, get signage onto transit vehicles at stops, things like that, to let riders know, let our riders know if there's a public comment period on items that will especially affect them. So the evaluation forms you see there, we have Appendix G, which is the outreach evaluation form for participants. So at every one of our meetings, our public meetings, for a public participation process, we have these forms. This is a way for us to gain feedback on our outreach from participants, and this feeds into that meeting report. There's also the outreach evaluation that I previously mentioned for staff to fill out. So you have these two forms of evaluation. And finally, there's Appendix I, which acknowledges the members of that 2012 Public Participation Task Force that I referred to. And so that's in there acknowledging their work. Just some improvements to kind of bring this all together, some improvements that were put in place with this plan. You see there we have the specified comment periods for plans and especially programs and projects, so that first chart that showed how long comment periods had to be. The expectation of increased remote access to meetings, so that the web streaming as well as varied meeting locations, essential accessibility features, that list we just went through, social media communication. So our previous plan did not, it was kind of before, it was before we were on Facebook, on Twitter, things like that. So this plan brings that in it kind of enshrines it as a part of our process. Also enhanced information on our website, public participation techniques covers that matrix there to inform, consult, involve, and collaborate. References in the appendix, things like the glossary and the federal regs, etc. The analysis of meeting outcomes through that evaluation, as well as the reemergence of the NIRPC newsletter. We had one for years, and it kind of drifted away, and so the newsletter has come back. That's also available on our website. And a full-time NIRPC staff person assigned for public involvement communications. Hello, that would be me. And so that concludes my presentation. You can find us online, nirpc.org. That is our website. That's where you'll find our CRP, the tip, this plan, links to our Facebook, our Twitter, which are also there, facebook.com/NIRPCMPO and twitter.com/NIRPC. Like us, follow us, friend us. We appreciate it. Everybody's welcome, as well as a link to our YouTube page where you can watch videos of our commission meeting and just keep updated on what's going on with our agency we have a hot topic section, we have a news section, the events calendar, all sorts of stuff on there. So that's really sort of the big clearinghouse of where you can find what's going on at NIRPC. And other than that, I'm all finished. Catherine?
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. I did have a question. Can people contact you directly?
Yes. Yes. My email is SSOS, T as in Tom, ARIC as in cat, @NIRPC.org.
Okay, awesome. That is all the questions that I have. Again, this was a recorded webinar, and it will be available on our website at www.southshorecleancities.org, and it'll also be available on NIRPC's website, www.nirpc.org. And it'll also be available on our SlideShare account. So thank you, Stephen, for your presentation. Do you have any closing remarks?
Nope, just thank you for having us. We're always happy to help get the word out about what we do.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for joining, and we hope everyone has a great day. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.